wrestling diehards only, this is the Idaho Mat Chat Prepcast on IdahoSports.com.
That's right. Welcome in. We are back at it here for Season 2, Episode 2 of the Idaho Mat Chat Prepcast on IdahoSports.com, talking about the great sport of wrestling week in, week out in the state of Idaho. We are coming to you live tonight on the IdahoSports.com YouTube channel, Facebook page, Twitter account, as well as the Idaho Wrestling News Facebook page. And for the first time, for those that may not be on social media, well, it's not really fair that you guys and gals get to miss out. So you can also watch this live on IdahoSports.com. All you have to do is go to IdahoSports.com. The top of the homepage, you'll see a little tab that says Game Streams. You click on that, you'll see Mat Chat Episode 2. You hit that, and you'll get live video there as well. Now, if you want to participate in the conversation tonight, you will have to be on social media. But if you just want to sit back and watch and you don't have any social media accounts, you can now watch the Mat Chat Prepcast on IdahoSports.com. Again, just click on that Game Streams tab. And we ask that, while you're hanging out tonight, and we want you to give shout outs to your favorite teams, players, coaches. If you've got questions, throw them in the chat and we'll throw them up on the screen and talk about it. Really, you, the fans, direct where the course of the show goes. But if you, in addition to that, if you could also hit that like button and then share this when it's done, it'll help all those other people find it a little easier tomorrow, the next day, the next week as they watch it on replay. All right, enough of that long-winded diatribe. My name is Brandon Bainey. Let's introduce you to our panel tonight. First up, he was absent week 1, but he's back and better than ever. Jacob Eck. Jacob, how are you?
I'm good. I'm happy to be back.
Yeah, we're glad to have you back. You were on vacation last week with the family, so back in the swing of things now.
I was watching. I was tuned in, but
yes, and you definitely had some comments on Facebook as well. Also joining us tonight, Brian Zollinger from East Idaho. What's up, Brian?
Hello. What's going on, fellas? Wrestling fanatics out there.
Definitely. And of course, it wouldn't beat the Mat Chat Prepcast without Coach Al Fontes. What's going on, Al?
I'm tired, to be honest with you. Between practice and prep and all these reviews, I have to be honest, I need a break. One day, that's it.
Well, you can rest tomorrow, Al.
Tomorrow, that's it. I'll be fine after that.
That's right.
No, I'm just kidding. I'm having fun.
Yeah, for those that may not have seen, earlier today on IdahoSports.com, we dropped Al's previews, 5A, 4A, 3A, 2A, and the girls division. He went in depth with returning placers, returning champions, teams to watch, the big storylines. All of it is on the homepage at IdahoSports.com. Al, I just have to say, incredible job once again on that season preview. Everybody should definitely go check it out. It's right at the top of the homepage at IdahoSports.com. I know that was a big undertaking for you.
No, it was a lot of work, but I do it for the love of sport. I think people, there's been a few errors on it. People have let us know. I appreciate that. I take ownership of that. We'll try to make the corrections. Appreciate it. It's just a lot of data out there I have to process.
No doubt. And lest you think this is just coming from me, Al, everybody is appreciative. Matthew says, thanks for everything, Al. Bridget says, thank you. Steph says, Al, you're the man. Bethany says, yes, thank you for sure. Jacqueline is here tonight. She says, hello, Brandon, and hi, Jacob. Maddie said hi.
Matthew's finally a freshman on. The Hamiltons are coming this year.
Definitely. And we talked about that last week a little bit, freshmen that we're keeping an eye on as the season progresses. So yes, tell us where you're watching tonight, who you're repping, and throw your comments or questions in the chat, and we will throw them up on the screen for you, the Idaho wrestling community. Of course, we always start the show. And real quickly, Jacqueline says, thank you. Jesse Villegas is another freshman to watch. Keep an eye out for Jesse this season for sure. Okay, we always start the show with, now that we're back into the regular swing of things, the best thing that we saw from the past week. Jacob, I'll let you bat leadoff on this. What was the best thing that you saw from the past week in wrestling?
I went to the Marsh Valley tournament just Friday. So there's actually some good wrestling that happened. I think Pugsley, the Buell freshman, versus Bowen, Soda Springs. Overtime. That was a good match. just pretty much everything. Everybody's starting to get in the swing of it. So it's good stuff. I enjoyed the Marsh Valley tournament.
Okay, Brian, you're up next. What was the best thing you saw from the past week?
Jacob stole it. That match between Bowen and Pugsley being a freshman and Bowen obviously returning state champion. That was impressive. So I'm going to say Jerome winning both the boys and the girls division at the Tim Matthews Invitational this week was impressive to win both of those.
Always nice when you can represent at your home venue, essentially. Tim Matthews, for sure. What an outstanding performance by Jerome. Good one. Al, what was the best thing you saw from the past week?
I was at the Warhawks tournament at Ridgeview. It was primarily a JV tournament last year, and they started doing varsity. I want to just say the staff there did a professional job running a tournament for the first time that big. They had a few kinks here and there, but they worked it out and everything went well. And like you said, I saw a few freshmen. I'm like, whoa, okay, they're going to be in the mix by the end of the year. I mean, I'll just give you one, a kid named Camden Kuntz from Mountain Home. He was I think he's a freshman. He was pretty tough. So we see. Jacob, do you know much about him?
I believe he trains at the Southern Idaho Regional Training Center. Other than that,
yeah, he looked pretty tough. He beat another tough freshman, Tobias Gullion from Meridian. Meridian has a lot of good freshmen coming up, so they're gonna be tough to beat. But no, that was just a good tournament, well-run tournament. So.
No doubt. The best thing that I saw from the past week was from Skyline High School, where Xander Zollinger picked up career win number 100. Brian, I believe it's 101 now, right?
It's actually like 108. He got at the tournament before and coaches wanted to recognize him the night of a home duel. So yeah, it was fun. He's had to work hard to get it, but he got there.
What a cool accomplishment. That's 100 is not easy. So
it's not as tough as it used to be back when we were limited to 25 matches plus district and state. You had to be like 95% win, but it's a great accomplishment still.
Yeah. Well, Brian, that's a back in my day.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep, for sure. Okay. So we're starting to get lots of comments here in the chat. Lynn, of course, watching from Post Falls, Idaho tonight. Jacqueline's here from Post Falls as well. Lisa says Middleton, Idaho tonight. Go Vikes. Yeah, Middleton has looked good to start the season. Matt Biggs says, Al, the best thing that he saw was the Boise wrestler who got life flighted out, was able to walk and return to the Calhoun Classic the next day. That's pretty incredible.
Yeah, that's good. Good news. Good news.
Yeah. And here's some comments about, you guys were talking about Camden from Mountain Home. Jose giving a shout out there, as is Nicole. She says Camden is awesome. Yes, he is a freshman. So we were talking about the Calhoun Classic. Jimmy says, how about Fruitland winning the Calhoun Classic by over 50 points without McKenzie or Lopez in the brackets? Brian, we talked about this last week. 3A appears to be, the door is open. South Fremont's kind of had the run on things lately, but Fruitland, Buell, a lot of good teams ready to pounce.
Yeah, Fruitland is just so deep. I mean, I think they remain my favorite. A lot of depth coming back, and they're definitely going to be competitive. As we stated, you can't count South Fremont out. They had a good tournament up at the Buell. The Butte City mining duels, and that they, they're bringing a lot back with Packer and Banta, so you can't count that amount. But that was definitely impressive of Fruitland.
Zach says the best thing he saw was on the girls' side. Jacobs, Sheen, and Scott at Marsh Valley. Super cool to see the excitement that those girls bring to the sport. What did you see from the girls competing at Marsh Valley?
I'm not gonna lie, I stayed in the one gym, and then I didn't move off my seat. The baby sat there and we watched intently, played some toys, played some ball, enjoyed it, and then. Yeah, I mean, I looked at the results, that's for sure. It'll be fun to watch in the state tournament. That's for dang sure.
Yes, you've got a young one. Are we at a year yet? We're getting close, right?
Close, like almost 11 months. So,
wow,
yeah, we're closing in. So, I'm already trying to brainwash him. Take him, sit in the stands, pay attention, stuff like that.
So, Brandon, I can tell you. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, our garage is a wrestling room, and I just open the door and be like, pay attention. So we'll probably end up liking soccer or something like that. So it'll be even better. I'll have a goal out there soon.
Right. Go ahead, Al.
Oh, I was going to talking about the girls' side. I know Eagle, Rocky, Weezer, and Glenn Ferry went up to Grande, and they did pretty good there. Eagle took second place to Grande, and Rocky was right behind them. So we had some good representation there in Oregon with the girls.
Yep, for sure. John says the best thing he saw from last week was the Hawaii duel versus Meridian. Last match of the day, Maxim Osman versus Carson Gooley, fourth place versus state champ. Max wins by fall just into the second period, Brian. That's a big message being delivered.
Yes, it is. It's definitely impressive. I would like to see that match. I saw the results, but it's impressive for sure.
Now, Al, on the other side of that, Carson's going to remember that, right? He's going to file that away and keep that in the back of his head.
Yeah, Osman's good. He took fourth at state last year, and Gooley won it. So that's good to have that kind of rivalry throughout the year, so we can go to state. It'll be that much better.
Is Gooley going down to 95?
I don't have any information on that.
Yeah.
So we'll know at Raleigh, right?
Right. Yeah. Well,
so.
a lot of people cut down an extra weight class for that, so you never know.
+4 is pretty. Changes the game a little bit.
I don't know. In politics, they always talk about before an election, there's always an October surprise. I feel like with some of these weights, we sometimes get that February surprise as well, just before the postseason starts up for sure. Okay, we're getting more comments in here. Mario says, let's go, Minico. And we'll get to another question about Minico here in just a second. Lynn says, Post Falls Wrestling did awesome at the Toppenish tournament over in Washington. And Matthew says the same thing. Best thing I saw was the heavyweight match for the finals in Toppenish. Post Falls versus Toppenish turned into a WWE match, double leg into the score table. Tensions were high. Good competition throughout, for sure.
Love that.
Yeah. Bethany says that was something. I think she's talking about the Hawaii Meridian battle that we were talking about. And Jimmy says Gooley is going to 195. So there you go. Asked and answered. Jed here tonight representing South Fremont, of course. Go Cougs. Okay, and now here's a question. I want to pose this to Al. Vance says, with Minico's B team taking second to Jerome at the Tim Matthews, where does their A team rate? I mean, we've talked about coming in. Minico is just strength in numbers, right? The heavy favorite this year at 4.
Yeah, when you can count both the first and second team wrestler, Minico has an army. You look at Bishop Kelly, they got 5 returning state champions. I don't think another team in the state has that many state champions, and they have some solid seconds. But being a numbers game, they're gonna be very difficult to beat at state. If it was just the top wrestlers, Bishop Kelly would be very difficult to beat.
And of course,
in a duel, take Bishop Kelly.
Yeah, it's very interesting how the two lineups are built a little bit differently. You'll remember last week on the show, we made our official championship predictions. Al, you took Minico. Brian and I both took BK. So we'll see how that bears out as the season goes along. Tyler says, let's go, Jerome. Yeah, and Jerome, is going to be in the mix as well, Al. They'll be right there near the top of the podium also this year.
That's right. They have a lot of numbers as well.
Yep. Bethany, when she was talking about, the match was really something to watch. She was talking about that Toppenish heavyweight showdown with Post Falls. So there you go. Here is Hoyt Haas from Lewiston. Top moment for him was Jolie Slider taking the state champ versus state champ matchup in Kellogg. Al, we talked about what a great opening weekend of girls competition we had. And then one of the big in-state meets this weekend up north was in Kellogg. Great opportunity for Jolie Slider.
Yeah, she's tough. I mean, 2-time state placer, state champion. She's placed at Fargo. She's definitely one of the best in the state, and she's ranked nationally. So she has a good career ahead of her. A lot of potential.
Yeah, as I was putting together the collage of wrestlers for your preview, Al, I was putting the graphic together for the website. I chose one from each, 5A, 4A, 3A, 2A, and the girls.
They look good.
The girls division was a no-brainer, right? I had to go with Jolie Slider. I mean, she is the big story this year in girls wrestling. There are others as well, certainly, but we're really keeping an eye on that young lady from Lewiston, no doubt about it. So, okay. We should also mention, so the previews dropped today on IdahoSports.com. Tomorrow, we will have our first rankings of the season. That's right. We go classification by classification. We go weight class by weight class. It's something the whole team at IdahoSports.com pitches in on. And I know everybody's really excited to see those debut rankings. Just remember, early on in the season, we're getting a feel for things just like everybody else is. So, it's just a fun jumping off point to start the discussion. So stay tuned for that. That'll be up sometime tomorrow morning on IdahoSports.com. Okay, Matthew's got a question for us. I'll pose this to Jacob. Which schools lost the most seniors last year, and what juniors through freshmen are going to fill those shoes?
Probably South Fremont that I know of off the top of my head. They lost a lot, but they're pretty deep. So as far as South goes, it's going to be Bantha, Tacker, Clark still back, and then Jed does a good job, Coach Clark. So I'm sure they'll be ready in the mix. Outside of that, I don't know who even lost that much. You could say Meridian a little bit, but they're so loaded. I think Al's preview, they had 60 incoming freshmen to watch. Maybe a little over top, but they still had a lot.
No, every one of those kids placed at either one of the districts or placed in the state. So I watched them this weekend. If they don't place this year, they're going to be placed in next year. They're going to fill some strong. In fact, they're going to fill some strong shoes.
Yep. Jose says NAMPA. I don't know if he's shouting out NAMPA or if he's saying NAMPA's a team that lost a lot. I feel like NAMPA's got some pretty good individuals coming back. And that's why I wanted to ask Jacob first, because he's kind of got the 1,000-foot view. Al, you've been drilling into the data all week, so I knew you would be able to come in after and really fill in.
Hammer it home.
Yeah, hammer it home for sure.
NAMPA did lose a lot of their horses, but they also didn't lose, and then their twos all rose a little bit. So
New Plymouth lost a handful as well, but they always do a great job of reloading, and I think they're going to be competitive again this year. But New Plymouth lost a handful of seniors as well.
Yeah, 38 come back. Their 38, Skylar Rodriguez, that kid can wrestle.
Yes,
no doubt.
He sat out all last year, and I got to watch him a little bit last week.
That's awesome. Yeah. Jose says NAMPA did lose a lot of seniors, and Hoyt says Lewiston lost 8 out of their 15-man lineup. Brian, that's, some programs have to rebuild and some reload. You hope that the practices in the years prior were good competitive ones, because now it's up to that next wave to step up and fill it in.
Yeah, for sure. And, Lewiston's bringing Hoyt back. That's all they need there. I mean, he's a fireball in the practice room. So, he'll get all those underclassmen whipped into shape quick. So, Lewiston will reload, but they did lose a lot of seniors. I saw Matthew Hamilton's comment on Edstrom coming in. I believe Edstrom's going to Madison instead of South Fremont, but he is, an up and coming freshman. So South doesn't get Edstrom. I believe he's going to Madison.
Yeah, and that's something that we've talked about here in the early going, maybe not on the show, but behind the scenes a little bit. New faces in new places, right? That's happened a couple of different places. I guess, Al, what is one face in a new place that you're keeping an eye on this year?
Say that again.
What is one new face in a new place? Maybe somebody switched schools, or it's a freshman coming into a different spot. What's one that you've got your eye on?
Well, you got Hershert from Caldwell. He's at NAMPA now. He's changing divisions. So we'll see how he does. He looked good when we saw him at the Donnelly duels. So he's definitely going to help NAMPA be in the mix.
Brian, I saw, was it Coulter Burton is at Century now, right? previously
Yep.
at American Falls.
Yep, that's going to be a fun one to watch. And the other one that's a big one is Saxton Scott from Bonneville to Idaho Falls. So, I think, those are probably two of the biggest right there, with Burton obviously, and then Saxton Scott. That's a big one as well.
Yeah, I was hoping to see a Coulter Burton Mac Mauger, but obviously they are separated by a few weights. So
we got Mauger and Eck. That was pretty good.
Yep.
That is a pretty good. That's a good second banana for sure.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk. Zach says Malad is a young team to watch at 2A this year. Drake is a killer, but the rest of them are super tough as well. Again, Brian, you and I both picked Malad last week in our official 2A championship predictions. I thought I was going to really come in with this under the radar pick. You stole all my thunder.
Yeah, I mean, Malad, they're a great team, obviously, and talk about freshmen. I mean, Drake Morrison goes undefeated this weekend. They've got the Willie kid down low. Couple Willie kids, actually. I believe they're brothers there. Potter kid at 13 is solid. Blaze Wright at 95. I mean, they've got a stacked lineup. A lot of, they've probably got 10 kids that could or should place at state. And so that's a solid team.
I was hoping you guys were going to leave them off so I could come back on this week and be like, you guys missed this.
Yeah.
Dang it.
Right.
I was trying to ask a tough question so I could come in and give one or two, but
hammer it home for sure. Okay, so we were talking about weights and our guys dropping down, our guys moving up. So Max Osman coming off that big win over Carson Gooley. He's planning on going 195 this weekend at Wiley Dobbs. What do you think about that, Jacob?
a lot of confidence after, a week ago, I'm sure. Ready to go. It'll be interesting. You have to slay the dragon a few times, so.
Like we were saying, the gap is closing. Some of these state qualifiers are starting to close the gap. So summer wrestlers make winter champions. So some of these kids have been working hard over the summer, and they're closing that gap on some of these kids. So we'll see.
Yeah, it's like a video game, right? You beat it on one mode, and now you're gonna up the difficulty level. Sorry, Brian, I cut you off there. Go ahead.
No, that Wiley Dobbs, if Osman goes down to 95, there could be some really good matchups, at that tournament this weekend as well. So that's going to be fun to watch.
Yep. Okay, Tom's got a comment here, and I think this is a good discussion point for us as well. He says, I want to see Coulter wrestle Morrison since they're the same weight. So we were talking about matchups we want to see, just in our dreams, right? I'm gonna pose this to each of you. What is the one dream matchup you'd like to see? We can go different weights, but let's try to keep it somewhat close, right? We're not going to have, a heavyweight wrestle, 120, something like that. I'll give you guys a second to think about it.
I'm ready.
And then I want to hear in the comments too what everybody would love to see for dream matchups. Al, you're ready. Go for it. What's your dream?
See Jason Mara and Skellinger go. Because they're both solid, power, strength, technique. They're very advanced. I would love to see that match.
That'd be epic for sure.
Yep.
Matthew Hamilton agrees with you, Al. Yeah. Same.
I was going to use Mara too, but I want Mara Mauger.
Okay. All right. That would be a tough one for Mac, but I'd like to see it.
Fantasy Wrestling League.
Yep. Mara better be on a treadmill.
Right. Brian, did you have one that popped into your head?
Before Al said that, I was thinking the same thing. Martino and Mara would be great as well. Both just fundamentally sound. I mean, there's so many that you could name.
We got Mara and Martino.
Did we get that?
Yep. Donnelly Duels.
Oh, did they? I did not see that.
3-0, I think, Mara.
Did they hit each other? Oh, well, I'm going to have to find that. I hope there's video of that because I would love to see that one.
Same.
Yeah.
Mara's about impossible to score on, so.
Yeah.
Right.
So how did it turn out?
Mara won. I think 3-0, but
wow.
Mara McKenzie hit, and then Mara Martino hit, and Martino McKenzie hit. That group of
I was
three.
in the other gym when that happened because we had 2 gyms, so I didn't get to watch
3
it.
tomorrow.
Yeah,
Man, you're in the wrong gym if you missed that matchup because
I know. I had to be with my team, so we were wrestling the other gym.
Oh, this is when you need a body double, Al, that can just stand in for you. Then you just sneak off.
That's it.
Yeah.
I'm going. One more is one we could get. Exford and Burton.
Yeah.
That would be nice.
Yeah,
That one's possible.
They're both good with positioning. They're both good in attacking, countering. That would be a real interesting match. Could it
That
happen
match isn't
at
gonna
Raleigh?
That match won't be 2-1. That's going to be 14-12 or something
Yeah.
crazy. Those
Could that
two
happen
don't
at
care
Raleigh?
about nothing. Yeah.
Yeah. Raleigh for sure.
Yeah.
Yep. Let's make it happen. Okay. Amy also said Burton had a solid matchup against Robinson at Marsh. I think you'd agree with that, Jacob.
Yeah, it was close. I think they've wrestled twice now. One was Tech and then 12-5, 12-6, 12-4, something like that. So he wrestled good. Took him down and rode to absolute like a stuffed pig the first period. He wrestled really hard. I think that's the 3A sneak right there, Colin Robinson.
I like that. I like that pick. Yeah, that's a good one.
38's a little. We need to see what happens this next couple weeks, but Colin Robinson gets all the way in shape. He's a dangerous dude.
Yeah, for sure. Jimmy says Mackenzie and Martino was a great match too. So Martino's already had a couple of really good matchups. Al, you were talking about this. Bishop Kelly was over competing in La Grande, right?
Yeah, La Grande, Oregon. They won the tournament. I think it's called the Molenberg tournament. They had 5 champions and 12 placers overall. Their champions were Castagnado, Martino Skellinger, Carlos Valdez, and then Phil Jancourt at heavyweight. So they looked pretty good there. They dominated the competition. I'm trying to think. The runner-up was La Grande, who I think you guys know is like a 3-time state championship team in their division in the class 4A. And Glenn's Ferry represented well there too. And Weezer placed as well. They had 1 champion in Caleb Grove and 6 placers overall. So not a bad showing for Idaho.
That's awesome. Yeah, and La Grande's no slouch. That was a good competition for all of those Treasure Valley teams to go over and compete for sure.
Yeah, and I got a question for Jacob. Henry Thomas of Glenn's Ferry. What grade's he in?
Bryce Thomas. That's how I know him. I think he's a senior.
Okay. Yeah. He won it as well. Molenberg won it. No, Molenberg was second. He lost a kid from Oregon in the finals. And then, Bryce Thomas from Glenn's Ferry was second as well.
Okay,
Yeah.
The other Thomas, must be younger. I don't even know.
Yeah, must be younger. I mean, he's not on my radar, so I was just like
sophomore.
There you go. Coach Bartlett says Henry is a sophomore, Al.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep. And Amy says, yep, Price is a senior. So there you go. Good Glenn's Ferry pilot info there. Scott wants to know Teton question here, Brian. Who's matching Reich or Fulmer?
Wow. Nobody. I mean, at 3'8", if he sticks, he's a light 82 right now when I was talking to him, but it doesn't sound like he's coming down at 82, at 70. Nobody's matching him either. So, 3A 182, it's his. I just don't see anybody in 3A taking Fulmer out. I mean, he's undefeated season last year. There could be a surprise matchup. I'm trying to think. I don't know if they go to Raleigh Lane or not. I'd have to look. Tiger Grizz.
Go to Buell.
Yeah, so Tiger Grizz, there could be a matchup there for Fulmer, but he's won that the last couple of years too. So I don't see anybody beating him unless somehow we get and I don't know who would win a Hudson Rogers Riker Fulmer matchup would be great. I know they're friends and they train together occasionally and about the same weight. So that would be fun to see if it happened, but I don't know that it's going to happen. So I think Fulmer's 3A, he's going to take it, and statewide, I don't know. There's some matchups possibly, but I don't think we'll get to see him.
Yep. Yeah. And Scott said that right there. Anybody from 5A, it sounds like Hudson Rogers would be a good.
And another kid that did good at Grande, Cash Cobb from Weiser, he's 5th at state last year. He placed 3rd there behind Skellinger. So I've seen him compete. He's a tough kid. So overall, good tournament.
Yep. Travis has a question for us here. What do you think about the 4A wrestlers from North Idaho? Jacob, you got any good info?
I wanted to say Hoyt, but then I remember Lewiston's 5A.
Yeah.
Every time. I'm like, Hoyt's has to be 4A. Oh, I'll definitely get a few names for you.
I mean, historically, Lakeland has always been kind of the strong program up north for 4A. So
now Edo Butte's back home.
Yeah.
They're going to be turning this stuff around.
Sandpoint's got a couple of, Shane Sherrill went back to Fargo, had a pretty good tournament. Sherrill should be competitive. Trying to think, Lakeland's got
Knopp.
Lightweight
Knopp. Jaren Knopp.
I think isn't that where the Green at like 160, 170, isn't he up there? Dylan Scott at 220 from Lakeland is, solid wrestler at 4A. Carson Leonard, freshman, that's another freshman that should be on everybody's radar up at Lakeland. I don't think he's lost yet this season. And so, at 113, he should be competitive in 4A.
Yeah. I mean, it'll be fun to watch those teams develop as the season goes along for sure. They're always punching up, going against 5A competition in bigger schools for sure. Bugsy, he's a former Lakeland and Coeur d'Alene guy right here. He says, don't forget about the newcomer Leonard, Clint's kid. Yep. So there you go, Brian. Yep. Right away. Okay. We are getting tons of questions, guys, about let's start peeking ahead at what's coming up this weekend. It's Tri-State. I mean, that is the topic du jour in the comments here. Matthew wants to know next weekend, which turn are y'all watching close? Tri-State or Al, is there something besides Tri-State you got your eye on? And then we'll do the deep dive.
Our team's going to Reno TOC. I know Meridian will be there. I think Fruitland will be there. Mountain View will be there. You got the two of the best heavyweights in the state with Shiloh Jones, and you got McGinnis. They'll be battling there, and Mountain View's got a few other good kids on their lineup. So that's where I'm going.
Yep. And that's, Jimmy says he's going to be at the Reno Tournament of Champions, and Travis coming with fire. Reno Tournament of Champions better than Tri-State. What do you think, Brian?
It's hard to argue that. I mean, people travel for, hundreds of miles to get Reno Tournament of Champion. It depends on the weight class. Some years at Tri-State, there's a weight or two that are tougher, but I think overall Reno Tournament of Champions, I mean, it's a big deal. It's one of the, it's up there with the tougher tournaments around the country throughout the season. So that's, I got to say Tournament of Champions is probably tougher overall, but it depends on the year.
Okay. Daniel says, put some respect on Tri-State. I know the Dark North is hard to talk about. 67 teams in the smallest gym. Crazy atmosphere. And Bugsy says, we need to get more Southern teams and individuals up at Tri-State. Usually first-year teams only bring like 6 guys, or that's how it was in the past. Yeah, Al, we get good, representation from Washington and Montana and North Idaho, but it is hard for those teams from the South to make that trip north.
It's tough because you got the holidays come up, Raleigh Lane, people go to Reno TOC. Some of it's just time of the year when people can go make that trip. Don't we have a dual meet tournament up there in Post Falls? Isn't there a big
is the Andrew Beck Memorial, is that might be the dual tournament that's up there that week? I know there's that.
So
yeah. And Tri-State, I think Bishop Kelly's going up to Tri-State this year. I
think you're correct. Yep.
So, I mean, that's, along with, Lakeland, Lewiston, Post Falls, obviously. Weiser, I think, is there. So there's going to be a handful of Idaho schools at Tri-State this year. So that could be fun.
Yep. You guys are thinking of the River City duels. Is what
there. Okay.
Yep. Yep, for sure. Let's see. Shout out from Richard Jacob Beck. Let's go. He said, my guy.
Is that Richard Figueroa at Arizona State?
He's the number 125 in the country.
Damn, that dude is a stud. I remember watching him at the California State Terp. I wish him the best of luck.
That's my guy.
That's awesome.
He's number 1 in the country.
Oh, he's real deal.
Jacob
champion. Oh yeah.
Yeah,
He's the
Jacob's got the shot out of the season so far. Although Al was pretty good. Yeah, Richard, thumbs up. Yep.
Oh yeah.
Okay, Jacqueline says, from Post Falls, we make it down there all the time, and we're starting to see it. Bishop Kelly coming up this weekend. Maybe we can start to make that more of a normal thing. I think a lot of it is just the scheduling. It's gotta make sense on the schedule for those teams. Daniel says the 7-guy rule makes Tri-State smaller, but there's no gimme matches and teams rarely bring their B talent, Brian. It really is the best of the best.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I mean, I'd love to see some of the teams East Idaho get up there. You got a lot of tradition with these tournaments. This weekend we've had the high country conference duels at Bonneville High School. So there's about, what do they have, 20, 25 teams there. It's a dual tournament, and most of those schools have been coming there for 20 years. So it's, sometimes hard to break tradition as well. So, but I'd love to see more teams go up to
Brian. 20 years ago when I wrote an article with Wrestling USA about the top tournaments in the country, and I broke it down by the top 3, then the region. I remember Tri-State was one of them. I mean, they were there. Tiger Grizz was, right?
Mm-hmm.
It'd be good to make our tournaments in the state even tougher.
Yeah.
They're create a gym, right? They're coming here. It's other states come here instead of us going there. That'd be great.
It would be. And Raleigh's pushing. I mean, Raleigh is a big tournament. Tiger Grizz this year, I haven't looked at the list of teams, but I heard it's the biggest it's ever been. And, in the early 90s, late 80s, that was a big tournament. So if we've got more teams this year than ever, that should be a decent sized tournament with get some of the Utah schools back. And
give our kids more exposure to the national level.
Yep. I agree. Regionally, there's no reason why we couldn't put on a showcase event for sure. Bugsy kind of echoing what we've said. Tri-State is smaller, but usually most guys are state placers or qualifiers. Has a lot of All-Americans in that tournament, and they filter out the weak competition. Yes, historically, very tough tournament. If you're at the top of the podium after Tri-State, you have earned it for sure. Okay. John says, let's see. Idaho Falls. He'd rather Shelley go to Tri-State than the High Country Conference duels. And we've had a couple of people in the comments say that's where they're going to be at this weekend. Jacob, is that where you're going? That's over there in East Idaho.
Probably, most likely on Saturday. Get over there, get some Chick-fil-A, and then go watch some duels. It's not the same, the more the watch wrestling. We love this. But no, the duels are tough. It's a lot of matches in 2 days, and there's gonna be some good ones. There's gonna be some good weights too. I mean, you could get tested real early.
So Brandon, talking about All-Americans, I this past weekend was the Walsh Ironman in Ohio, which is by far the #1 tournament in the country. Basically, it's where state champions go to lose. Want to shout out to Mac Mauger, Shiloh Jones, and Hudson Rogers for going to that tournament. Mac placed 8th. That was a sneak peek of what the NCAAs are going to be like. I mean, you want to talk about All-Americans and studs. They were good. Shiloh was 1 match away place, and Hudson, he didn't place. By thumbs up for putting it on the line against the best in the country.
Yeah, that is the best.
Very intimidating.
Yes, that's awesome that we had a couple of individuals go over there and represent so well. Colby Cameron says, shout out to the beast Cohen Roberts. He's an animal, has been in beast mode early this season, helps ref the little kiddos, drove all the way to Spokane to help support the little guys for Lewiston Wrestling Club. He's a great role model. That's always great to see, Jacob, when guys are giving back to the youngest level.
It matters. That's how you build the tradition. And, give those little guys something to look up to.
Yeah.
They need it.
For sure.
They're going to want to be him one day.
Yeah. Jacob, talking about little guys in your region, in the clubs, are you seeing an increase of the younger kids? It seems like, I was talking to Dusty Vaughn. He started a kids club over here in Skyview, and he had almost 200 kids. We're talking grade school level. It's just incredible, the numbers. Seems like we're getting a lot of younger kids are coming out. I haven't been here long enough to realize, what the numbers, if it's going up or down or what, but it seems like a lot more kids.
Especially folk style.
Folk style.
this folks out season way more. It kind of freestyle Greco's a little different because not everybody's familiar with it, but definitely folks out season. You see a big increase. There's a lot of people doing a lot more wrestling than ever before.
Nice.
Yep, for sure. All right, guys, I've got a quick rapid fire question and then a deeper conversation jumping off point here. All right, so Matthew wants to know, Al, you were talking about All-Americans. Which guys had the best off season? Like you said, summer wrestlers make winter champions. Is there one guy that you've kind of noticed throughout the off season that's really gotten off to a hot start?
Well, Mac Mager, I mean, he's a 5-time Fargo national champion. He goes to Ironman in places. He took 8th, but 8th is there's state champions that are watching in the stands when he was wrestling, even All-Americans. He's one of them that I've been watching so far.
Shiloh Jones.
Yeah.
Shiloh Jones, too. Talking about Shiloh, a lot of people don't know he's been traveling the country the last couple of years, going to all the major tournaments. He's put in a lot of time, and he's got 9 All-American honors between folk style, Fargo, and going U.S. Open. That kid is really, really committed a lot of time, putting it on the line against the best.
Yep. Can't go wrong with either of those. And, Skellinger as well. He had a great off season, killing it, of course. So I think those are all 3 just great off seasons.
Yeah, and talking about Jaden Skellinger, I remember him as a little kid in California in the Concord Youth Club. He started out around 4 or 5 years old, and basically he has not stopped training since. So you want to talk about committed. I mean, we're talking year round. It's incredible what he's done. The passion and love for it.
Yeah,
for sure.
There's so many on that question. I mean, over here, East Idaho, you got Saxton Scott, Bowden Banta, Jackson Packer. I mean, those guys all had great off seasons as well. So it's going to be fun. And a lot of them are going to be hitting each other. Be interesting to see where Saxton Scott goes if he's 13 or 20. I'm guessing I'm pretty sure he's staying 13, but there's Carter Balmforth over here. It'll be interesting to see what matchups we get.
No doubt.
I hope 13.
Yep, for sure. Cody, we were talking about youth programs. He says the Thunder Ridge Middle School program is growing for sure. Joshua says he's anticipating a record number of USA memberships purchased in Idaho this year, which is always a good sign. And then we're starting to get, more talk about still tri-state, Al. We got Hoyt, saying tri-state could be even better if we could get more Southern Idaho teams. We could support our only wrestling college and make Idaho a destination for tough competition. That was kind of echoed by Sean. He says he would love to see a showcase tournament here. Hopefully Turf Wars comes back. At least previous years we had Idaho studs at the Zinkin and not at the Raleigh. That's definitely turning around a little bit. And now here's Bugsy. Derek Booth, new coach at NIC, North Idaho College in Coeur d'Alene. Let's make tri-state tough again. Al.
No, I think North Idaho College, Booth, I wrote an article. I got to know him a little bit. I mean, they went from not placing in the top 3 for over 8 years or top 5. He comes in first year, they're top 5. And he's doing a lot of kids from Idaho are starting to join the club. I wish him the best of luck. I really think they can make a top level team again.
Yeah, and it is Idaho's lone college program. Now, this is where I really wanted to steer it. This is something that's been bubbling under the surface the past couple of years in the Idaho wrestling community, Al, and you and I have noticed it as we've come in from other states. We have such incredible young men and women wrestling here in Idaho, and then we got to send them away to go compete at the next level.
They're sending a lot of kids away. I mean, it'd be nice to get Boise back, and that's something to go to get a Division I. But I truly believe we can have an NAIA program, which the Cascade Conference is huge in this region. Idaho can produce, whether it's what's some of the NAIA program? Isn't there one out in Caldwell, Idaho North?
Yeah, College of Idaho.
They're NAIA.
Right.
I mean, you're talking 12 teams in the region. Everything's here. Great logistics. We can produce a team that can compete right away on the national NAIA right now.
And Travis agrees. We need to make College of Idaho an NAIA program. Al, in all of the other sports, the basketball team for men's basketball made the national championship game last year. The football team is playing in the semifinals of the NAIA national playoffs this weekend. And so I agree that the talent is there in the other sports. It would definitely be there in wrestling. And Brian, it's not hard to think back to, when Boise State had a program and it was rocking and rolling.
Yeah, I'm wearing my shirt from back when they had a program right now.
Yeah.
And even Idaho State, in high school, Idaho State had a great program in the early 80s before they cut it. I mean, they cut it probably 15, 20 years before Boise State did, but they've had a wrestling program there as well. So, it'd be nice I'd love to have D1, but I think a great place to start is the College of Idaho and get an NIA program going. And we could even add some girls wrestling. Years ago, had some chats with Idaho State specifically about this, and she was brand new athletic director at the time, and she seemed really interested in adding first girls and then adding a boys program. And then I think COVID came along, and we probably haven't had any follow up. But I think there's opportunity. We need to, as a community, just keep pushing and push the heads of these colleges and find the funding, and let's do it.
Let's think about this. So we take the state of Minnesota, great wrestling state, but what are they also known for? Hockey. It would be like having a national championship high school hockey team, having multiple All-Americans in high school and hockey, and not having a wrestling program.
Yeah.
That's the same thing here. So I hope the administrators are listening to this. It's a win-win. It'd be great for the state because we need to build a future generation of future coaches. Because when what we're seeing now is just an offshoot of tons of college wrestlers that are coaching now. They're giving back.
Yep. And Hoyt had another NAI school in Idaho. Of course, Lewiston has Lewis and Clark State College also. And we know what kind of baseball program they have year in, year out. They compete nationally there as well. It would be fun to see them compete. For a while, I lived in Havre, Montana, and that's where MSU Northern is. They play College of Idaho and all the other sports, and their wrestling program is outstanding. They're not very good at much else, but wrestling they've really got figured out. And so I've been to those duels and watching these high octane college athletes compete. It's really fun to watch them compete for sure. So,
and you look at academics too, Brandon. All those, almost every kid I've written about, you look in wrestling, of the 20 plus kids I've written about, half of them are in the honor society. All of them are on a roll. They're great students. We got such a great student athlete academics that it would even benefit the academic side of these institutes, not just wrestling. We're trying to produce great people that can go on and give back to society. It'd be a win-win. The byproduct of what happened at Boise, the people that are giving back in the community that were part of wrestling and that institute is huge.
All right. So we've gotten a lot of people in the comments kind of echoing our thoughts, saying, there needs to be more college programs in Idaho. I'm going to put you guys to the test, though. Right now we've got 44 likes. If you agree that Idaho college wrestling needs to have more opportunities, hit that like button. I want to see how many, how much we jump in terms of likes. If you agree with that sentiment, you're wearing, what are you wearing, Jacob? Is that a UM Western?
No way. Western Wyoming.
Oh, Western Wyoming.
In the country.
Aren't they JUCO?
Yeah, #1 in the country.
Yep. Okay. Hoyt says we got to get you an NIC sweatshirt, Jacob.
I'll message you my address.
For sure. Cody says, yep, you hit the nail on the head, Al, for sure. And Jacqueline says, off topic, Jacob, I need a Post Falls decal for headgear. So
I can do that.
Yep, for sure.
Got a lot of work to do.
Yes. Okay. One last comment on college wrestling, then we'll move on. Jose says Treasure Valley Community College in Ontario, Oregon, just across the border, is bringing their program back. So, Al, that's an option that's closer to home for some of our athletes.
So they're a community college, correct? In
Yes.
Oregon,
A
right
JUCO,
there,
yep.
Ontario.
Yep. Right across the border. So that's good. Okay. Travis says, we've been working on getting College of Idaho for 2 years. It's a challenge, but hopefully we'll make it happen. Hey, keep fighting that good fight, Travis. If it's something you're passionate about, reach out. That's how you can impact change.
They
Reach
want
out.
to know statistics. We got it.
Yep. Al's got the data for sure. Okay. Back to high school. We talked about the travel between North and South. Daniel says Timberlake will self-transport to Raleigh. If you want to compete in the tough tournaments, you find a way. I think I saw somebody else this weekend. Maybe it was Moscow or Lewiston. Maybe somebody had to self-travel over to Washington as well at the last minute. They didn't have the bus, and it's incredible, Brian, how quickly that comes together when you find out, yeah, we're not going to have a bus. Which parents can drive? How many seats can you fill?
Yeah, we have it all the time over here. Years ago, our schools made cutbacks. So any tournament, I think within 30 miles, the parents have to get them there, and people get there. So it can work.
Yeah, for sure. Evan backing me up on my MSU Northern comment here. He said, in your defense, Brandon, Havre doesn't have a whole lot outside of wrestling. You are correct. It's like Siberia up there. Most of his buddies went to Great Falls. They also have a very good program there.
Havre has a Hodge Trophy, though. Only non-D1 with one.
Yes, that's for sure.
Some good history.
Yep. And yeah, okay, it was Lewiston that had to self-travel. Megan says, yeah, Lewiston had to get some vans last weekend to go over to Toppenish. So our North Idaho wrestling expert on IdahoSports.com, Ryan Skaggs, is in the chat tonight. What's up, gents? Hey, Ryan, good to see you. I'm sure you'll try to take in some of the tri-state action this weekend if you can. Brig says, in the past, with the absence of girls wrestling in college, boys wrestling was a tempting cut to make. Adding girls wrestling to college sports might be the best way to get men's wrestling back. What do you think about that, Brian? With Title IX, you have to have an equal number of female and male sports.
Yep, I think it's a great opportunity. I mean, you see it playing out throughout the country. Schools will have added a girls program and then added a boys. And like I said, discussions with Idaho State a few years back, that's kind of exactly where the athletic director went with that conversation is, hey, we could add a girls and then add a boys program a few years later. So I think it's a great way to get it started.
Yeah, it'd be great to have a D1, but if you look at D1, there's only 4 or 5 women's programs. It's moving very slow. But you look at the NAIA, and they got probably 50 plus programs. That it seems to be the fastest growing division.
Yeah, it is exploding for sure. Before it gets lost in the comments, Jacob, another East Idaho school, was getting some love in the chat. Madison at the 5A level is a program on the rise. What have you seen from Madison up there in Rexburg?
They're good. Coach Peterson kind of started to build a tradition. It takes a long time. It takes a while to buy in. Not a while, but you have a couple years, maybe a couple beat downs and some duels, and then get your middle school to buy in. Then you get some freshmen, and the upperclassmen kind of take a hold of it. Now, I mean, a year or two from now, they'll be pretty tough in 5A. People better be ready.
Yes, that's what Natalie.
It's one of the largest kids programs just in the last 2 years that we have in Eastern Idaho. Coach Peterson had, I think, 100 kids start this fall season there, little kids. And, that's probably up from 2025, 4 years ago when he took over the program. So Madison's been fun to watch. And their junior high team this year really rolled. So they look great. 2 full solid lineups and great program coming up for sure. I mean, Coach Peterson, he puts a lot of time in it throughout, USA Idaho Wrestling. He's on the board of directors and travels around with his team. So great program.
Yep. Natalie says, yep, the program has grown so much since Coach Peterson took over, 6th at state in 5A last year. Watch out in the next couple of years. And John says, yep, Peterson and his staff are phenomenal. I mean, they've got a huge advantage built in. Rexburg's a population of 35,000. There's only one high school. So, you can just turn the corner and you'll find bodies and numbers for sure at Madison. Okay. Let's see. More talk about the college game here. Oh, real quick. Bugsy also says we were talking about finding unique ways to travel. He says it's not uncommon for schools to travel together on the bus too. Kids are a bit more friendly toward their peers than they used to be. Win-win for everyone. Would that have flown back in the day when you were wrestling, Brian?
Yeah, absolutely.
No, we're going to Reno with NAMPA, and we've driven there on a bus with Eagle before, and it's all good. They're all kids. They know each other.
Yeah, that's what's great about the sport. I mean, half of the greatest kids in the state, they'll get together and practice with each other, on the weekends or when something's free, when they can. Obviously, they can't have their high school coaches there for some of those practices, but it's just great about the sport. It's a large family, and you can go out on the mat and fight, and then the next day get together and practice to get better. And you see it all the time. It's a great sport because of that.
Yep. Okay. We were talking about college wrestling and Boise State potentially, Brian. South Fork says, unfortunately, JD, that's Jeremiah Dickey, the athletic director at BSU, has told me they are not in a position to add a sport. And they were having a conversation about adding women's wrestling, and they said not even that is on the table. It's disappointing to hear.
It is. I mean, I guess it is what it is, but everybody in the wrestling community knows when they cut it for baseball, that kind of flops. So I don't get why they're not in a position to add. Baseball didn't work out, so let's bring wrestling back.
Yeah, that's I think we're all in agreement there. And Mike says, it's time to grow women's wrestling in Idaho. Al, it's been growing, but Mike wants to see it more. He says we need to catch up to Utah, Washington, and California, and everywhere else for that matter. We have some absolute wrecking balls in the girls division. Where are we at compared to some of our peers?
Per capita, we're moving at the national trend. I mean, just last year alone, 17% in 1 year. If you go back 4 years, it's probably 80%. I'd have to go back and do the math. I mean, it's exponentially going up. So on a national scales per capita, we are right there what the national trend in growth is since 94. It's went from 804 girls to 52,000 in the country. So we're doing fine in Idaho. The grassroots are growing. Once we get these college girls to come back, start coaching, I think we're going to even see more.
Yeah. And that's the important thing to remember when you're looking at numbers and you see, Utah's exploding and California's exploding. And just remember, Idaho doesn't have the same population base as those other states. So like Al says, you have to look at the per capita numbers. And I think we're right there with them in terms of per capita.
1.9 million to California's 39 million and declining, but it's 39 million people.
Yeah. Right. And declining for sure. We'll just leave that there.
We'll leave it there.
Okay, let's see. Sean agrees. We have some serious hammers coming up for girls in high school the next 3 years, for sure. And then, Amy talked about, with regard to sharing buses, Best on Best has helped build bridges between the best wrestlers, regardless of school rivalries, Al, as well.
Yeah, I mean, we got Best and Best here in the Treasure Valley, but Jacob and Brian, you guys do that sort of in the east, right?
Yeah, they started Best on Best. It was going once a week here. I think it was Tuesday nights at Idaho Falls High School until the high school season started, and then we have some clubs, East Idaho Elite. Kids will get together on their own without their coaches and come in on a weeknight and beat each other up, and that goes through the season when there's not duels and there's no high school coaches there obviously, but the athletes themselves get together and drill. So yeah, it goes on over here for sure. Yeah,
because you're talking a lot of rural areas. Like I think South Fremont has 475 kids in the whole school. I mean, Buell has 300 and something in the whole school, and they're producing that kind of athletes. So those kids, good program, and then they're training with everyone. There's a lot of traveling going on in that region. I mean, they represent 42% of the All-Americans in Folkstyle, Fargo in the last couple of years in that region. So hats off to everyone that's helping out there.
Iron sharpens iron for sure. Renee says a lot of the growth in the West, Idaho, Wyoming, Montana, is in the middle school ranks. Does that check out, Jacob? Is that what you're seeing? Middle school?
Yeah. That's where they start really developing. Starting to lose now.
All right. We're almost done, Jacob, I promise.
Is that your baby? Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It's time.
All right.
That's where everybody's starting to excel. And then once they get into high school, they already have their routine. They've been wrestling a long time. Then it's just another day at work. But for a lot of these kids, a lot of the freshmen, sophomores right now, juniors, just another day at work. They've been doing it for, 10, 11 years by that point. By the time they're in high school, winning state titles is not the biggest thing they've ever done. Right. Being a four-timer, they're like, oh, that's fine. I want to win Fargo. Which is crazy to think, but being a four-timer is almost, or even a state champ, they're like, oh, okay, you take Saxon, Scott. He hasn't won state yet. He just won Fargo, outstanding wrestler. Ask him which one he'd rather. We know the answer.
Hey, and Brandon, to backtrack to All-Americans that are up and coming, Sean Hall from Canyon Ridge, he's a folk-style All-American. He's a force to be too. He's another kid to watch out. that's coming up, younger kids. So just want to add that in there.
For sure. Hey, real quick question now, rapid fire. Bob wants to know, what do you think about Alleman from Fruitland?
Hard-working kid. I've seen him train in this area, coming over in this area. Great family. He's a force to be reckoned with. He's putting in the time. So, yeah, he's tough.
Yeah.
I think he was second last year.
Yep.
Is he a 26 or 20 officially? Anybody know?
Not sure yet.
Wait and see. And Molly's just talking about middle school. Heritage Middle School in Meridian had over 100 wrestlers come out this year, which is just incredible. That's
Todd,
awesome.
I mentioned that last week. Todd Hine, he's got a good staff there. Some of the guys, Coach Jensen too, coach at Heritage or at Rocky, they put in a lot of time and commitment there. Great group of coaches, and I think it was up to 100, 107 at one point. So, great group.
Yep. Isaac McKenzie says 120. We were asking, was he going to be at 120 or 26? So we'll make sure Jacob gets that word also. All right, guys, we're going to wrap up with this. We were talking about unique ways to travel, right? Sometimes you got to take vans. Sometimes you got to share buses. Ryan Skaggs, who is a broadcaster for other sports for IdahoSports.com, says, so you're saying a wrestling Uber could be a lucrative enterprise, as he calls up our boss Paul Kingsbury for more revenue for Idaho Sports. What do you guys think? Can we get into the Uber business?
Do it.
Oh yeah, for sure. Jacob, 120.
Perfect.
So there you go. Yep.
I was hearing 120 could be good.
Yes.
See what happens at 26.
Yep.
3 could have some weights that are pretty ridiculous.
Yep. No doubt. All right. Well, we've hit the hour mark, which means it is time to wrap up this edition of the Idaho Mat Chat Prepcast. Big thanks to everybody who participated in the conversation tonight. I know a lot of people that tune in can't see it live. So if you would, on the way out, if you could just hit that like button if you haven't already, and then share this when it's done. Everybody can find it a little bit easier amongst the algorithms, whether it's on YouTube, Facebook, or Twitter. And also, spread the word. If you've got family and friends that aren't on social media, they can go to IdahoSports.com, click on the game streams tab at the top of the homepage, and watch the show there now on our site as well. So a lot of different ways that you can get this. And of course, if you like to listen to the podcast, this episode will be uploaded tomorrow in the Mat Chat Prepcast feed. You can subscribe to that wherever you download your podcasts, Google, Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, etc. All right, Jacob, thanks for hopping on tonight. I know you got to get back to it. So fatherhood never ends.
No, it doesn't. It only gets crazy, right?
Yeah, this is the easy part, right?
Yeah, this is normal, easy.
Yeah, no terribles twos. It just keeps getting better, Jacob.
Yeah, thank you. I look forward.
You'll
to
have
that.
fun. You'll have fun.
Yeah,
every day.
For sure. Brian, you got more comments in the chat tonight about that mustache. Just keep it going for next week. Right?
The
Season is here.
Yep. And Al, again, thank you for all the hard work you did in writing up those season previews for every classification at IdahoSports.com. Really, we appreciate it.
Thank you. Appreciate all the coaches' input that I was able to get a hold of. So thank everyone.
Yep, for sure. All right. And remember, tomorrow morning on IdahoSports.com, first rankings of the year, team rankings, individual rankings for every classification, every weight class as well. So for Jacob and Brian and Coach Al, I'm Brandon Baney. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. We'll see you back here again next week, 7 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Mountain for Mat Chat Prepcast on IdahoSports.com.